Hello and welcome to yet another episode review for The Wind and the Willows. This is for Mercury of the Motorbicycle from Series 3. I do have the script here, but I've realised that it's probably not a good idea to try and read through it as we're watching it. So what I did in the last episode, as you probably saw, is I put that one up so you could kind of see the script and compare it to the episode. So I'll do the same for this one. But it was originally, just one point, it was originally called The Righteous Toad, this one, as it says on the first page here. And it was down as episode 9 of Series 3, where in fact it was episode 2 in the end of Series 3. Not that makes much difference, but there you go. So without any ado, let's get into this. Okay, so I'm going to press play now. Here we go. Okay. So this episode, I like it a lot. I first saw this episode when it was released on video. If I can see the video there. This one, yes. I don't know if any of you had this video. It was a bumper collection called Fun and Games, and it was the first episode on there. So 5 episodes. Quite rare now. But it's a real fun episode. There's a lot of humour in it. It's nice. It's from Series 3, and it's where the series really, I think, started to take off in Series 3. Landscapes were expanded. It just felt bigger, wider. You got a lot of sets in this one, a lot of countryside. This artwork still exists in the archive. So that's nice. Beautiful artwork it is as well. I mean, look at the motor car there and the picnic basket. It is stunning when you think that Beverly Bush illustrated these pages like for each and every episode. So every episode has its own pages. It's just wonderful. There's the train there and the barge and the rowing boat. Talk a bit about the weather. The reason I selected it for this week is because we are into spring now. I had a real weird day here today in the UK. Lots of rain and then sun and rain and sun. It's typical English weather, really, isn't it? But this one is, as you can see, it's a real spring episode where spring has really taken off. There's Badger painting the colours there. So here's one of those sets, a lovely open countryside set. And here comes Toad round the corner. Oh no, heading for the corner rather. Absolutely beautiful. And of course, it kind of reminds us of the feature film, doesn't it? Toad's still into cars and he still crashes them. But this car is the one he remains with for the whole series, so at least he doesn't keep replacing them. So again, lovely sets that I don't think we've necessarily seen before, or if we have, they've been redressed as sets are for certain episodes and different scenes and so on. This is typical of Mole. There's Mole comforting Toad. Badger and Ratty are a bit less sympathetic to the creature. But look, there's Mole with a hanky in his hand, holding Toad's hand. With his other hand, he's wiping Toad. Toad has an ordeal like this in Harvest, an earlier episode, and it's where Mole comforts him there as well. The same thing happened. So it shows to me real character development. So this is typical Toad again. He's building up to something that he's bought or he's ordered, and then he reveals it. He wants it to be like a grand reveal, doesn't he? He's building it up. He wants his friends to be enthusiastic, but of course they never are. I love this expression. Toad's expression there in the eyes, lovely. Just that pause. When David Jason was recording these lines, the animators would watch him. They would actually, because first with the soundtrack they didn't understand the pauses and why is David Jason pausing there. And when they observed him actually doing the voice, they could see his mannerisms. Because a lot of great voice artists get a lot into the character when they're actually recording the voice, and they become the character. Certainly the case on the Pirates film that I worked on at Aardman. So those pauses just say so much. And then of course the animator translates that into eye movements and kind of lips, or the cheekbones coming down. So that little instrumental music there tells us there's trouble, of course. We can see the weasel there, so we're looking at Toad. Look at that costume, isn't that beautiful? Notice it says Semper Buffo on the back of Toad's outfit there, and on the cape there, or cloak, what would you call that? Cape, cloak? But Semper Buffo, of course, is Latin for always a Toad. Beautiful outfit, that bike, isn't that gorgeous? That's simple animation to do, vibration, just animate one frame forward, one frame back. Or usually on twos, on doubles, you go 2 frames forward, 2 frames back, and you get a vibration. Done lots of those in my time. Now these camera movements always impress me in this series. It's just got such high production values when you see shots like that. Oh, I love Billy Rabbit. So we've mentioned Billy Rabbit briefly before, but he's actually... is this the first one, I think, where Billy Rabbit... First one I'm reviewing here with Billy Rabbit actually being called Billy Rabbit, probably. But voiced by David Jason, of course, doing his high-pitched voice. It's a lovely, cute little rabbit. My parents actually had a rabbit and named him Billy, after Billy Rabbit. One of several rabbits, actually. Got through a lot of rabbits. They all lived a long time, though. So what's interesting as well, when the seasons are selected for certain episodes, they think very carefully about what the characters are wearing. So you can see Mole without his jacket there. Obviously he's just saved Billy and put his jacket around him, but he's not going to be too cold because it is spring. It's warm enough, it's warmish. Same with the field mice there, a little picnic it looks like. Now look at this with the toast, that's interesting. So that would have been, I'm assuming that would have been pins in the piece of toast, so the toast is probably made from foam and painted or some similar material and then pinned into Mole's hands to get that movement. A little bit tricky to do, but works brilliantly. It happens quite quickly though, doesn't it? I mean, the bite's there and it's so quick. And then Ratty's there straight away. A little bit quick, but it's fine. It works. So talking about character development as well, Ratty gets very cross with Toad. I mean, Mole loses his rag as well, and Badger certainly does. But Ratty often talks about that swine Toad. He needs to be taught a lesson or two. Now this is interesting. This is the village. Now we often hear about the village or human kind of life nearby, but we very rarely see it. And this is obviously it's economical. This budget saving to have silhouettes. I guess they would have been cut out shapes of the characters in the windows there, backlit of course, but nicely done. I doubt they wouldn't have been actual puppets. False perspective there, of course. We've got the full-size Ratty and Mole there, and the riverbank home. Looks further away than it does because of the scale difference there. False perspective. So that's the full-size boat, of course. But as I've said before, there were miniature moles and rats. Look at that, how that oar is just sticking into the water there. Beautiful. Notice no ripples though. That's because of the thickness of the water, the gel-like quality it had with the mixture that was made. It's been wonderful to have seen the cast recording these lines, and pretty much I think for every episode they were there together around a table recording together like it's a radio play, and I genuinely think that's always the best way to do it. I don't really agree with films and series that record snippets here and there and then they're all put together. you've got to have the actors together. They've got to feed off each other. You've got to get, the timing and react properly while you're there and in the moment. And that was always the way with these episodes. And I think it shows. I really do. By this point, series 3, these actors worked so well together. They knew each other's qualities. They knew those characters inside out. That train we see a lot, of course. Saw it in the film, of course. Beautiful, that full working engine. Now, I've always felt, I've said it before, but Badger's Home could just do a bit more light, couldn't it? I mean, it is a bit dismal in there. There is light, but it just looks so... If it was today, they would definitely get some bounce balls in there at least. Shine a light and bounce it back. I guess they were, again, aiming for homeliness, coziness, but I think if it was done today, it'd probably have an orange glow from a fire and you get much more detail. We just lose so much of the detail. I mean, look how Rat is lost there in front of the fireplace. You just barely see where he starts, where the fireplace starts. Anyway, okay, stop criticising. Now this is interesting. It's a challenge trying to make something like this, because this is Toad. Basically, they're not dealing with the mouth and eyes, so it's easier in that sense. But you've got to get all those movements right. To tilt the head there, get it right and in sync with the soundtrack. And there we see his face there. That's nice. Very well planned out, that shot. Because with all camera moves, you've absolutely got to have your end position set. You've got to know where you're going and know what you're aiming for. Hit it at the right point. You've got it all timed out, of course. Now, I love this scene. This is one of my favourite scenes. Now, this pacing. Just wonderful, and the fact that it's David Jason dubbing with himself. Yeah, I did ask the directors once, and Brian Truman, did David Jason record the line one after another like that? And they said pretty much, yeah, unless they're overlapping. But that is so tight and quick there, wonderful. Just that pacing. I'm sorry, Mr. Toad. Sorry, it wasn't you. What wasn't me? That lovely back and forth he did with himself. Now, the humour of that, I think it's very, it's mature. It's not infantile humour. It's very good humour. That the idea that the Billy Rabbit, he just wants to say sorry. He feels very guilty, or his father does, for blaming Toad and being on the bike. And all Toad cares about is where is his bike. He loses interest in that straight away. He says, yes, that's right, Billy, that's done. He's focusing now on the bike. And of course, Billy still goes off saying, oh, thank you, Mr. Toad, thanks for understanding, Mr. Toad. And just adding that Mr. Toad to it all the time just emphasises it's pacing, isn't it? It's just lovely. So we are at the Weasel's Den. Now, this is brave for Toad. I mean, other episodes he's terrified of going into the wildwood, but I guess he's that desperate to get his bike back and that angry about it that he's made his way there, and he's really shown some bravery here, but not so much intelligence, as we'll see in a moment. So he asks the weasel to count to 100. Wonderful script writing this, so there we go. Count to 100, so the weasel can't, because he doesn't know how to. He can count to 10, there we go. He thinks he can, and then Toad proves he's, there we go, proves he's just as stupid. So you can't count to 10, however many times 10 goes into 100. Must be 7 or 8 at least. That's wonderful. So the weasel shows how stupid he is, but Toad's just as stupid. Or just as uneducated. So this is Toad getting a bit... Notice the gulp there. You know, and Toad, he is arguably the most expressive of all the characters, and yet he's still fairly limited. He's just got the cheekbones that go up and down like that. You've got the eyes, and looking at him here, they've made him look worried. They've made him look a bit not as confident as before, and it's a real skill, that. And that's often it's not just the expression; it's the stillness, it's those pauses and the timing between them. But it is expression as well. I mean, the shape of the mouth there, adding tears there, of course. Sometimes I think tears are a little bit overdone though. You know, watering of the eyes perhaps, that can work, just a slight watering, but actually running down, it's, not as believable. But well done, of course. I do love these close-ups because you just see the textures of those puppets. Just exquisite, just extraordinary. Look at the detail. And notice the T as well on Toad's costume, in studs. Now that comes up often if you look at all these costumes in certain episodes. When he's got a certain craze, he'll have T somewhere on his costume, or a costume devoted to the, or connected with the craze itself, as you'll see in episodes coming up. There we go, he gives him a final whack, and of course Badger, Ratty and Mole there to save the day. So this set is the kind of courtyard backlot of Toad Hall, which does pop up a little bit in Series 3, certainly in Toad Astronomer that's coming up. And this was, should mention the crew on this. Ooh, let's get my trusty crew guide. So, yes, Barry Purvis directed this one. So animator-wise, you've got Andrea Lord and Monica McCartney. I'm proud to say I've worked with all three of them. So yeah, Barry was directing by the time Series 3 came along. I think he did a few in Series 2 as well, yeah. And then when Series 4 came along, Barry had already left Cosgrove Hall to set up Bear Borg Productions, where he started making his short films. And he never returned to the Wind and the Willows, but of course he did return to Cosgrove Hall much later. But what a great thing to make your own films, having been trained enough and ready after working on wonderful series like that. So notice the smoke we had just then, that would have been on glass. Obviously it would be done on computers these days, but it would have been on glass. And sprayed on glass and put it in front of the camera. I love that, that's unusual, that, an overhead shot, so having the camera completely vertical, on like a rostrum looking down. There we go, interior of Toad Hall is the one time we see it in this episode. Totally losing control. Beautifully shot though, look at all these, again, these camera movements. Going through the hedges. The detail there, so you're not just going into the darkness of the hedge, you've got the animation of the leaves folding away as we to add to the sense that we've just been through it and travelled through it with Toad, of course. There we go, so stupid Toad. There we go, so typically they say, oh Toad, and Toad says stupid, whatever. Stupid motorbicycle. So there we go. So like I say, I like that episode. I think it's got some wonderful moments. Nice story. You know, it involves quite a few characters. I like the way Billy Rabbit is involved and the Weasels. Yeah, it's good. And the typical one, you know, as far as Toad's concerned, you know, another craze, another sort of, you know, thing that he's obsessed with. But no, lovely episode that. So great. So credits Series 3 Peter Kidd I've worked with, quite alongside anyway. He's still in the business, I think. Yeah, always wonderful people that made this absolutely beautiful, glorious series. And there's Barry with JC Purvis. You notice he doesn't always have JC in his credit, but JC stands for Jonathan Crabtree. Amazing name, Barry Jonathan Crabtree Purvis. Wonderful. So there we go. So thank you very much for watching. I will keep these going. Sticking with the plan, one every week, and of course the bonus episodes from Series 5, one every 4 weeks. But next week, I'll just check the diet. We have, oh, lovely, one of my favourites, Mr. Toad's Telephone, also from Series 3. Actually, it is in fact the next episode in Series 3, so it does follow straight on from Mercury the Motorbicycle. But that's because it's perfect for this time of year, it's in the spring. So, thank you again, and please do keep the comments going. I'm getting a few comments, but I'd so appreciate any thoughts, any comments, any memories you have of the series, and please, you know, anything at all, you know, anything about, you know, did you grow up with this, did you discover it later on, any stories, you know, I just want to, yeah, get a fan base together, that's my aim, and eventually do this book that I want to do. Brilliant, so thank you, thanks very much, and see you next week. Bye bye.